Just a little disclaimer before you get in the video. Some of the parts of the video, like at the end, you may notice the lighting is a bit off, and some of the stuff seems weird, and as well as now, it's dark out. But yes, some of the parts of this video were recorded at different times than the initial recording. I recorded all of it, and then some of the footage got corrupted in parts that I had to refilm, and I refilmed them at different times and didn't quite replicate the lighting and such well enough. So that's why, if you were wondering. Sorry about that. Also, I want to say that about 55% of people who watch this content isn't subscribed, so of course, if you aren't, make sure to hit that bell, because like, if you did that, then that would be greatly appreciated. It motivates me, all that good stuff. Everyone's saying you've heard this shtick before because you have, but you know what? It's proven effective. I did it in my last video, and it is, as I can quote from multiple YouTubers, I'd basically be shooting myself in the foot if I told you not to. So, subscribe and enjoy the content. On to it. Hello Internet, it's the Quadus. I've been gone for quite a bit, if you haven't noticed. Yeah, I'm back. I'm gonna do more things, particularly a review. You read the title? Yeah, we're doing Inoxydable. I don't know, have you heard of that level? I don't think you have. You might have. I'm not sure. Yeah, but Inoxydable's like it's a big one megacollab that was hosted by a guy on a server that I'm in, and I made a part in it even, and I'm like, hey, this seems like a good time to get clout, and so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna get some clout. I guess I should just get on with the review. Really, there isn't much more to say. So basically, you remember the immunity review, right? Basically, gonna structure the same as that. I'm gonna take each part, give my individual thoughts on them, and then at the end I'll give my overall thoughts. Pretty simple. Alright, so the first part we're going to talk about is Fangs. It begins the level pretty nicely. It's got a good custom background. Block deco does feel a bit empty. There's not much to it besides the weird little line dot things. I think it'll make more sense when you look at it. The art deco is lacking, but still isn't anything bad. It is a little flawed, could use some decorations to really spice up the part, but it's not a bad part. It begins the level pretty well. The next part we're talking about is Geordie GMDs. It's a cool textile part. I'm not much familiar with the style, but it looks pretty good from what I see. The air deco does feel a little bit empty at times. It's filled in most parts, but occasionally it does feel like it kind of got glanced over. The block and saw deco do look pretty nice though, and they're pretty decent. The object poses also look very nice. They don't really take away from the part much. And it looks good. Get some nice varied designs, and it's a pretty interesting part. I'd give it a nice out of 10. The part after that is Kennox GMD's part. If I'm being entirely honest, I do have some problems with the part. It's kind of rough around the edges. It feels like it needs a bit more time, taken with some of the things. Like, it's over reliant on skulls as a detail in the blocks. It's quite a few of them. The glow pulses on the sides are out of sync. They don't really look too good. Doesn't really feel too satisfying to look at. Some objects could definitely use some blendings. There's like some glow spike pillar whatever things sticking out of the blocks that are like solid and they don't look too good. Could use some blending to make it spicier. And honestly, it could use some improvement. Not one of my favorite parts. JJ the Boss 19's part comes in next, and it's pretty good. Got some clashy colors, definitely, looking at some of the hues that pulse, I can definitely be like, I don't like how that fuses together. The block deco does look fine though. It's pretty filled in. I don't have much of a problem with it. The spinning star in the background does also look pretty good. I had some nice detail in the part. It's a pretty good part. If not for the colors, it would be ranked a little bit higher on my list. Now that I'm giving the parts any rankings, you just kind of get to see my thoughts. I'm not ranking the parts. Jose Mock's part is a very lively part. It has a lot of pulses, and it looks good. The screen borders on the edge do move a lot. It's kind of a gameplay complaint more than anything, but like how the screen moves when you play the part, they move a lot, and I'm not too much a fan of that as a gameplay creator. The deco looks fine, a little lacking, but not bad. The pulses are very bright, maybe a little bit too bright, if I'm being honest. It's an okay part, probably could be cleaner, but as it stands, it's not bad. Lazy Cat's first part is here to be reviewed, I guess. It could use some color variation, definitely. Most of the blocks are almost entirely black with a little bit of glow details. Could use a bit more something to spice it up. Some of the glow pulses, like in the details, like how the glow like weave from the player, they look a bit too bright for my liking, and also some of the hues could probably be adjusted because they look a bit clashy against the other parts. The section near the ending that is black in background is very empty. You could definitely use a lot more to spice it up, even if just a little bit in the object blocks. But as it stands, it's just the object blocks that, you know, change colors. Not too much a fan of that. It could definitely be a bit more spicy meatball, as they say. If I'm being entirely honest, the part seems kind of rushed. I could definitely have some more work put into it to enhance certain aspects of it. Decent part, but could definitely use some more work. Mr. Miles' part has quite a bit of background pulsing. The block decoration could be a bit more detailed, and some of the colors clash on occasion. Not as bad as other parts though. I can't say much about the part, it's pretty good. Not much I really have to say about it. Decent part. Now when we look at Jose Mach's second part, it has a lot of white pulses, maybe a bit too many. The block deco could use a bit more detail besides the little X blocks on the borders, just to make them not look entirely empty. Definitely use a bit more to make some variation. Kind of falls in the same camp as Inox's block design. The 9 circles throwback effect in the middle of the part is cool, but it doesn't really fit all too well. I can account this level was planned to be a 9 circles style level at the drop, but it's not now, and honestly, the 9 circles throwbacks, while they are cool, aren't too good looking. It's a pretty alright part, could be better. I prefer his first part if I'm being honest, but it's a good part. And also, if we're gonna nitpick a bit, the circling part where you have to go through like the God Eater type rotating thing, there is no border coming out of that, and I don't know. I found that a little bit infuriating. Maybe I'm just looking for small ways to yell at people for. XT34RX's part, when you look at it, it doesn't fit in too well. It feels very out of place with its nature style. It's not that the nature style looks explicitly bad, besides looking a little bit hazy, but it doesn't fit in compared to the glow and modern parts that this level has in it. It doesn't feel quite fitting. It probably could have been better themed. It's not that I have too much to say about the style, though. I can't really critique it all too much since I don't have very explicit expertise in that sort of style. You know my thoughts on it. Omega's part needs more block decoration. It is empty and mostly black. Kind of falls under the same umbrella as Lazy Cat's first part. The air deco is very lacking. It could use more. It also needs something to fill in the background, because that also feels very empty. It's overall a very empty part. It's decent for like a start, like a base of a decoration, but could definitely use a lot more to really make it a spicy meatball part. I'm going to use that joke multiple times in this video, and you cannot stop me. Astro Glonis' part feels very dead. There's very little pulsing to really give it any vibe. The block designs definitely aren't bad. They are one of the better designs that I've seen, but they're a little too reliant on glow, just as it stands. The air deco and other stuff are pretty good too. It's a pretty solid part, but it could definitely use a bit more excitement, maybe a bit of movements as well. Just a little bit more to give it an intrigue. Lazy Cat's second part has some pretty wacky colors. The block deco is better than his other part, which is pretty nice. It does feel empty in some areas though, which is a problem I can fault to a lot of parts in this level. Pretty decent part, better than your other part. If we look at Certificate's part, it does look pretty out of place, though not as bad as XT's part. It's got some pretty good modern designs. Kind of reminds me of Rush Hour by Knots, with its arrow designs in the background and some of the stuff that goes in the blocks. The solid designs could definitely be spiced up. As they stand, they are just simple rotating gear things, and that I don't think looks too good. It does feel a bit too bright with the amount of glow that kind of covers the screen. Maybe I'm just weak because I'm a dark mode user, but it just feels very bright and very in your face. It's one of the more solid parts, but the brightness could definitely be toned down a bit. And now we move into our first two-person part with Twistcent and Rouquin making a part together. The designs are pretty good, could definitely use some different hues to spice it up, but they're still pretty decent as it stands. It's one of my favorite parts pulse-wise. It doesn't feel too in your face, but it's also not too dead. The saws are simple, but definitely don't look bad. They work well enough, just could use a bit more. It's a good part, it just lacks some details in the block design and some simple little additions that could elevate the part to a new level. Fink's second part is not as good as his first part in my opinion. Black borders on the part obstruct it quite a bit and you can't really see what's going on in front of you half the time. Some details in the block could definitely be nice. That they're just black blocks that just pulse white. Doesn't look too interesting in my opinion. The colorful strip along the custom ground does look nice, but I think more color could probably be nicer on the part. It doesn't look bad, but it just feels very empty and could definitely use a bit more. Romeo's part definitely could use some layering work. There are some details that kind of go above when they feel like they shouldn't go above. So opacities could also be tweaked as it looks. There are some things that look too intense when they feel like they shouldn't be that visible. The colors are pretty mediocre. I don't really find them too interesting. There's just the block deco is too reliant on black, which, come to think of it, quite a few parts are over reliant on black. Not the biggest fan. I could definitely use some improvement to really spice it up and make it nice and a spicy meatball. That's the third time this joke has been used. I am very good at making jokes. I am very good at comedy. Next up is my part, and you think maybe I'd be like, oh, my part is the best part in the level. But no, no one is out of bounds here. Everyone is going to suffer. If I'm being entirely honest with myself, the part could use some more air decoration in some areas. Definitely near the end to feel like I skimped out on that and decided I kind of rushed, basically. The block decoration is also empty. There's just one detail that kind of is in the blocks, and the rest is just kind of bleh, non-existent. It definitely needs more hues besides the pulsing and the base hue, like maybe some extra glow, spice up, whatever. Something to make it more interesting would definitely be nice. And the transition in the next part is super freaking lazy. Jeez, why am I so lazy? It's a pretty mediocre part, nothing special. It definitely doesn't look bad when I compare it to some other parts, which I guess is kind of blatant favoritism, but it also is much worse than a lot of other parts. Now when we look at Virus Error's part, it's got some very great designs. Space is filled in very nicely. It doesn't feel like much empty space is around, which a lot of parts can't bring a candle to. The colors are also very good. I look at this and I'm like, yes, I'm satisfied with this. Overall, there's not much I can really fault it for. It's probably one of my favorite parts, if I'm being honest. Cyanonic's part is very lacking in detail. It feels a lot more like a transition part than anything. And also, looking at that, someone's gonna have a freaking seizure. All the flashing colors, it hurts my eyes. And I'm not epileptic. Imagine what the epileptic children feel like. It's not bad looking, but it definitely feels more like it could be a transition part into the next part rather than an entire full-on part of its own. There is another two-person part, Xarius and Victor X. Both have X's in their names. I don't know what to say about that. It's got some good energy and pulsing. It's another very good energy, kind of like on par with the Twistcent and Rouquin part. Funny, both the dual-person parts have good pulsing. Huh. The space is also filled in very nice. Not much I can find with the emptiness. I don't really get the Wi-Fi symbol in the corner, but you know what? Whatever. I can't find anything specifically wrong with it. It's another really solid part. Not much I can really add to that. Virus Error and Rouquin have made another dual part, and I don't know what happened. I don't know who made the decoration here, but it's not as good as Virus Error's part. I don't know if it was Rouquin who made it, or if it was Virus Error. I have a feeling it's Rouquin, because that doesn't look like Virus Error's style. But, I don't know, it's not my favorite. The background could definitely be a lot darker. It feels too bright, kind of similar to Certificate's part. Some opacity changes in the blocks would definitely help too. It just doesn't look too polished as of current. The lines in the background look a bit weird, not much a fan of them. Could definitely be toned down in brightness, I don't like it as of current. For a 9 circles part, it's very bright. 9 circles parts aren't bright. They're flashy and seizure-inducing. Wait. We move into like the third part that virus error is associated with. Is 3 in a row. That's not bad. But it's the boss fight. So that's cool. If I'm being honest, it feels empty and like the space could definitely build up. The boss design is nice, I will say that much. It's a nice looking Dr. Mario pill. It could use more to fill in the space, and I prefer his other part, honestly. It's not that it's a bad part, but he is constructed better even the same level, which, I don't know, seems a little weird. The final part that we're talking about is Rouquin's. It seems fitting the host would end off the collab, but, you know, whatever. The references to 9 circles are neat, but don't fit in with the part. It's the same situation as Jose Mox. I don't really understand the need to reference 9 circles in a part, especially when it doesn't fit compared to the rest of the deco. The block design could definitely use some more colors and some details, right? It's just got some saws and some, like, one detail block added, and it could honestly have more. It feels very messy. A lot of the things definitely look a bit rushed, in my opinion. Could definitely have spent some more time on that. Definitely could have been better for Rouquin time to look at this and be like, huh, that looks a bit odd. I'm gonna make that look better. And that there ends off all the individual parts, so I guess there's nothing better but to state the overall thoughts. Overall, it could have been themed a lot better. It felt a lot over the place with like some modernistic styles, some glow styles, some tech styles. The tech styles did look okay when like next to the glow, but there was quite a mix of styles that kind of felt a bit off at times, and also the colors and everything were all over the place. It could have been more standardized to look a bit better. It could use some quality control as well. There's like some stellar parts, like, you know, virus error effects and other parts like that. And then you got Kenox and Romeo's part, and they're like not as good as the rest, which I find kind of upset because it's a cool collab, but it definitely some of the parts just weigh it down in ways that I wish didn't occur. I'm sorry if I'm insulting anyone who's saying by saying your part isn't as good as the rest of the people's, but that's what I'm doing. This is what a review is. The quality is pretty good for 5 months, but definitely could have had some polishing and just some improvements, not just in like details, but in like some effects. Definitely could have been more polished. And details could have been added. There definitely could have been a lot more put into the parts that would elevate them to a new standard. Anyways, that'll be about it. That's really all I have to say. I've said my individual thoughts, my overall thoughts. It's all been said. With that, I hope you enjoy the video, and don't crucify me in the comments for my opinion, please. Well, I guess that'll be about it. If you enjoyed, like, subscribe. If you didn't, dislike, unsubscribe, whatever, you know. I don't care at this point. You do what you want to do. I won't stop you. Well, I guess, peace out. It's been real.